Welcome to the Social Hotelier Show, the podcast where we explore how hospitality, design, and human connection create unforgettable guest experiences. If you ever wondered how architecture can transform the way we experience hotels and why the word sustainability might no longer be enough, this episode is for you. I'm your host, Sam-Erik Ruttmann, and I'm today delighted to welcome Francesco Allaix. He's an architect and sustainability coordinator at Studio Puisto Architects in Helsinki. Originally from Trieste, Italy, Francesco has led award-winning projects in hospitality, housing, and urban planning with deep expertise in timber construction, regenerative design. His philosophy, from spoon to the city, reflects design rooted in human experience. In just a few minutes, Francesco will share also why he dislikes the word sustainability and what he believes the future of hotels really looks like. Francesco, welcome. It's a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Sam-Erik. Thank you for the invite. Very excited to be here.
Let's get started. First, I think for our audience to get some background, can you share with me about your professional experience, how you ended up being Helsinki and an architect overall?
Yes, so I'm Italian and I studied between Italy and Spain, and then was 24, just graduated with my partner at the time. We decided to move to Helsinki. The decision came kind of out of the blue. She got a job offer from a Finnish company. We never been in Helsinki before and thought, well, let's give it a try. And that was quite many years ago. Many things happened and changed over this. I think I lost counting. I think 17 years ago. But here I am, and it will come a day that I spend more years in Finland than in Italy.
Very good.
So, yeah.
Very good. You lived in and worked in Finland now so that long. What have been your biggest learning adapting to the Finnish work culture and community?
Yeah, it's as I said, I moved here without knowing anyone in the architectural field. So at first I was doing freelancing, which I think was really good to build a network and get to know people, to try to understand how the scene is here. And when I started working in an architecture office, I work in a quite big, let's say, corporate style office. And one difference that hit me is that because I didn't know how to speak Finnish, and I felt that I was really cut off from everything that was happening around me. But I quickly realized that actually there's not much small talk and not much, even less actually talking behind someone's back. So in a way, the office, let's say, atmosphere was quite different from what I am used in Italy, and with some good positive aspects actually. And then, one thing that also I learned to appreciate is this famous Nordic work-life balance. So you don't have to stay at the office longer than your boss to show that you are someone who cares for the project. And yeah, I think those maybe were the first impressions and things that I quickly adapt to.
Okay. Excellent. So how has being in Helsinki compared to more global cities like Barcelona, or should I say Barcelona, how it's pronounced, shaped your professional opportunities and design perspective?
Yeah, indeed. As I said, I lived in Barcelona for a year, and it's quite a different city from Helsinki, and Helsinki is like I would say this kind of mid-sized metropolis compared to other more dynamic cities like Copenhagen, Berlin, Barcelona. But at the same time, I have to say that Helsinki changed a lot in the last 15 years. Became more cosmopolitan. The food scene increased a lot, and for the better. You can hear more English around in the streets. So I often say that Helsinki became more like me than me like Helsinki.
That's very well put. Yeah, I mean, I feel the same with you. I mean, I returned to Finland after a very, very long career outside, and I just seen the recent changes from the last 12, 13 years already, how things are progressing, and not progressing, maybe it's the wrong word, but some positive changes I noticed. And there's certain thing that there was a time when you rarely heard any other languages except an occasional Russian, but now you hear English and French, Italian, Spanish, and many other languages just by walking along the downtown area.
Correct. And I think some sectors are also very much cosmopolitan, like hospitality sector or IT sector. The building industry, not so much.
Yeah. What drew you to join Studio Puisto Architects, and how would you describe the firm's design philosophy in your own words?
Yeah, I landed here in Studio Puisto a couple of years back. And as I said, I was working in a big office, and then from that one actually moved to a small office that was focusing on timber buildings. And that was kind of a stepping stone to reach Studio Puisto. And of course, looking backward, it's easy to see stepping stones. I don't think you can really plan your life looking forward so much. But yeah, like the Studio Puisto philosophy really resonates with me. The care for buildings that connect people, connect with nature, where the use of wood is often like the starting point, and also this aspect of Nordic wellness, and try to export that, so to say, around the world. So Studio Puisto is actually not a big office, but it's quite international. And I think that, often we punch above our weight on the international architecture scene in a positive way. We are ambitious.
Yeah. You said you have starting to dislike the word sustainability because it's become a buzzword and a cliche. How do you personally define regenerative architecture? Yeah,
exactly. I think that sustainability nowadays is a hollow out word. Everything is sustainable, and hardly anything is. So it became really a marketing word. And I think that hopefully regenerative won't follow the same path. It's also something that has been used in the architectural field and landscape architecture field. So regenerative, means to regenerate, to improve a situation. And I think that the key aspect of regenerative architecture is the local impact on it. So an architecture can be regenerative to the local landscape, to the local community, or locally with the guests on their mind and body regeneration when we talk about hospitality. And indeed, Studio Puisto, where I am, we do mainly hospitality projects. So there is a very strong focus on the guest experience. In that aspect, there is also a regenerative process.
Sure. I mean, you mentioned the key words that I feel very strongly about the community, and also kind of making things better in the community. You have a hotel project in the past, and in my earlier career, it was almost like a gated community where everything of the services was only for people who came to pay their room rate, and the community was left out, and also that created, in many ways, kind of a conflict between the community, because they felt that they were left out and they felt they were robbed from opportunities. And then on the other side, there were staff working in hotels, and their parents are part of the community. And this was always a very sensitive area. But I think we have moved on from that and realized that a hotel can only survive if they embrace the community and also make sure that the community benefits from the existence of the hotel. Yeah. Well, we are working on you are working on some very interesting project in which we will talk about in a moment. One thing about you interested in, you have mentioned, what does building less is always better than building new mean in practice for clients and developers? You have mentioned that expression.
Yeah, I think that's I'm in my role in Studio Puisto. I'm a project architect, but also sustainability coordinator, and in that aspect, I exchanged indeed some very interesting talks with the partners here at the office, and I think that we share with many other architects this idea that we need a paradigmatic change So when I was studying, we always had projects like building new, designing, not maybe building, but designing something new. Or there was the restoration course where you take care of some important old building. But I think that in Europe especially, we built so much and great buildings in the past that we have been taking care of, but also not so great buildings that we still should take care of and be a bit more conscious when we demolish something to rebuild with something pretty similar or not so significantly better. So one aspect is this upfront carbon. So how much carbon has been emitted in the atmosphere already by the building that is there. So maybe preserving the structure or reusing part of the building can have a very positive impact on the atmosphere. And there are very good examples coming from Netherlands, coming from Denmark, of reuse of existing building stock. Aalto University here in Helsinki also has been publishing very interesting research on this idea of preserving what is there. And if you really cannot reusing, it's like, we have some elements that belong to a building, but in the future can belong to a different building. And having the whole system in place for that. I mean, there are all kind of challenges that if you buy something new, that is the quality is there. There are no issues. If you buy an old beam or a pillar, well, you have to guarantee, of course, the structural integrity of the building. So I'm not saying it's easy, but that's the way forward.
Yeah, I mean, there are some very, very beautiful examples how they have retained some aspects of an older building and then put something new. And actually, that's a kind of a statement looking at the history of the place and then also looking at the current and also maybe into the future. So I found it very attractive.
I agree.
Yeah. So all the viewers, if you're enjoying this conversation, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes with leaders shaping hospitality. So, Francesco, can you share an example? One of my favorite projects that you have been talking about is called the Solea in the Cyprus mountains that best illustrates Studio Puisto's regenerative approach.
Yeah, indeed. Solea Valley Healing Resort is where I spent the better part of the last 2 years. I've been leading this project. It's located in Cyprus, in the heart of the island, actually. So it's not a beach resort. It's a resort on the mountains, close to a national park, a very lush and green area. And it's really interesting, the regenerative aspect of this project, indeed, because the client has been building land in the valley to improve the ecosystem and to build some sustainable business there. For example, beekeeping and honey production is already happening. But then what was interesting is that when nature took over, let's say, unchecked, then pine trees are a dominant species, and they were somehow suffocating the other species in the valley. So what the client, together with a botanist, realized that, well, we can improve the biodiversity in a way that's increase the biodiversity of the valley, the amount of species that can thrive there. And yes, this is a human-led process, so it's not living nature as it is, but it's a process that can help to work together with nature. So we regenerate the valley, and then when now we are planning the resort and the building, we have the same approach, trying to work together with the landscape. The buildings are partly sunk in the landscape, partly have a light footprint, so that's the moment they will be dismantled or demolished, they can leave the ground underneath untouched. And of course, also the carbon footprints, we try to be as light as possible using wood as the main structural material.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are, sorry.
Yeah, that's a very interesting project. And in Cyprus, which has been known as the tourism or beach destination, and that has been the dominant way of attracting tourists. And finally, they came to terms that they have the beautiful mountains and the villages there that has a very interesting community life there. That I think this is attracting new travelers who also And that's really this healing resort tends to be the kind of way Cyprus can move forward, which embraces the culture and also the community and biodiversity of the area, and people are willing to go there, are interested to go to learn something during the stay, not less on sitting on the beach and looking at the cargo ships floating by. So that's interesting. Yeah. So I understand that you are contributing to a book, and Dr. Willy Legrand, he publishes lots of books, and I think the latest called Handbook on Regenerative Tourism and Hospitality. And you're contributing into this book, and you emphasize that local landscape and community in there. Why is this local connection so critical to regenerative design?
Yeah, you hinted at from your experience at the beginning of having some kind of gated community where everything is neat and closed though, and not opening to the surrounding. And the approach here is exactly the opposite. So we've been working with the local community at the beginning, so before the building is there, and we will work after when the building is built. So the work before is indeed meeting the local community, having workshop, having understanding of what are the needs. For example, those villages are depopulating, people is leaving, and creating employment opportunities is a way to foster the local community. And at the same time, also the resort can work with what is there existing. So providing the guest experiences of the history, local history. The village, for example, closest to the valley where the resort is called Hidden Galata. Hidden, and I got to understand, the history a bit. It is interesting because the Cyprus were mainly the inhabited on the shoreline, but then there were ransack coming all the time. So people were escaping from the shoreline and getting hidden in the forest. So they grew those villages hidden in the forest. And then getting to understand those and having the long history that actually those villages provide, and there are small churches dedicated to the local saints. It's all aspect of connecting with the community, and in many facets, from the economical to the historical, cultural.
Yeah, I read about Cyprus. There was one very, very famous artist who loved to travel to Cyprus, and the reason he loved it was not only the nature but also the making of lace. Leonardo da Vinci. That was kind of an interesting thing which I really didn't know anything about. That he had visited, and during his period, Cyprus was a special place for him also, but that maybe many people do not know.
Okay, indeed, that one didn't know.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, for hotel owners and developers, what do you think are the 3 key mistakes they should avoid when briefing an architect to create a sustainable or regenerative property?
Yeah, the opportunity to write this book chapter allowed me to think back, even if we are only halfway in the whole journey of building this resort, to what we learn and how a developer, hotelier can avoid some pitfalls along the way. So I think that's one is being open-minded and culturally adaptive, because hoteliers like architects tend to operate in different contexts and having a global overview. But then, we have to be also able to go deep down into the local culture, and what has worked in one previous project not necessarily is the best approach for the next project. So in that sense, looking for what we have in common, but also be open-minded to the local circumstances.
Yeah.
And this leads to the next one, which is somehow being strategic and prepare for scenarios. This is something that's in this project, for example, we learn the hard way in a way, because the starting circumstances looked like it was quite a straightforward process, but well, it eventually wasn't so straightforward. And it's normal that there are issues coming along the way. And in this way, I think both the clients, the developer, the architect, the whole design team, we have to be flexible and work with different scenarios. If we build in stages, how to approach and those things, we can refine over the course of the project. And this leads to the last team, to the last point, which is building a strong and diverse team from the very beginning. We all have expertise in some areas, but the earlier we open up the field to different consultants, engineers, experts in their own area, the better we get this holistic approach. Again, maybe a buzzword, but it's important to have all the cards on the table and be able to build this diverse and strong team, and not to, let's say, be also somehow honest and say, actually this is not my area of expertise. Let's call someone who can help us in this very aspects. So yeah, those could be three take
Very good. So looking ahead, what do you see the greatest opportunity and the toughest challenges for making hospitality architecture truly regenerative?
I think that the opportunity is all there. We have to embrace the regenerative aspect. Tourism is shifting towards also more conscious way of traveling, where people indeed visit places not to maybe just visit the top 3 attraction of the country, but going a bit deeper in the local culture. And also with regenerative approach, as said, we have the local impact, but also being very going quite deep into the regenerative aspect of the guests, of their body and mind, and how we really focus on that aspect, that is not just like having a sauna with a spa with a sauna and a swimming pool is not enough. We have to provide something that is more meaningful, deeper. For example, I didn't mention, but in the Solea project with the beekeeping there present, bee acupuncture is something that we want to provide. So something that connects really the local aspect with the mindfulness aspect of the experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's a science about this apitherapy where they're using bee venom as a cream or as a sting of that acupuncture site is actually a sting of the bee against arthritis and so on. So this has been around for thousands of years, but now we are relearning these things, and there is a science behind it, and it's quite interesting that the resort like Solea will be doing something very unique that comes natural to the environment, and also it doesn't look like it's a fake or forced kind of approach to that reason why people should be going there. So that's very interesting. For those who dream of a professional career as an architect, what advice would you like to give them? I have several people who are hotel students actually listening to our conversation, so they probably will be curious to hear your views as a seasoned professional.
Yeah, I was recently listening to an interview to an AI expert who, well, nowadays everybody is an AI expert, but anyway, he was saying that maybe it's better to be a plumber than an architect in the future. And so this could be a dry quip to the question, but I think in reality, yeah, we might think about more work connecting people and more manual work that cannot be easily replaced by AI. But I think that at the end of the day, we have to find and follow our passion. This is also not a new advice, but I think is really a profound one, because if we are passionate about what we do, then we will find a way to succeed, to bring that passion forward. And at the end of the day, we spend 7, 8, or even more hours doing this. So if you're, let's say, I'm passionate plumber dreaming to be an architect, I don't think is necessarily a fulfilling mission. But if you're a passionate plumber, you might have a better success, not be replaced by AI. Time will tell.
That's a good answer. Yeah. Well, Francesco, this has been a very interesting conversation with you. But I have two more questions for you before we wrap up. One question is that I like to ask all my guests. Besides what we talked about, what are the other trends do you see happening in hospitality that the hoteliers should take note of?
Yeah, I think we touched a bit on with the Solea project, this authenticity and bringing something that's belongs to the place, not trying to be different in a shallow way, follow some trend or something, but try to connect really with what is there. And most of the time there is something special there, because indeed we have millennia long traditions, so that we sometimes forget. So connecting to that is something that can really resonate for guests and tourists. And yeah, and then the regenerative aspect, having a project that has a positive impact on the planet and not necessarily a very shiny and kind of spaceship landed somewhere. I think that kind of architecture, in my thinking, is a bit passé. Or it can work somewhere. Depends on the context. You know, the middle of the island of Cyprus is different from downtown Shanghai. So, you know, we have to be context reactive. So yeah, it's not one recipe fits all.
Very good. So lastly, if people are interested to find out more about your work, how can they do so? How can they connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can contact me in LinkedIn with my name, Francesco Allaix. Surname is pronounced Alex, but it's spelled Allaix. I have an Instagram account as well, where is my portfolio and can be contacted, and of course the work email at Studio Puisto. Very, very happy to help.
Very good. So Francesco, thank you for sharing your journey and insights from architecture to regenerative hospitality, and even the lighter moments that you make your story unique. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to follow or subscribe. Leave a quick review and share it with someone who loves great hospitality stories. And if you'd like to go over even deeper beyond the projects and into personalities, don't miss Off the Mic. It's our companion show where every guest reveals lighter moments, personal stories, and the person behind the professional. Subscribe now and join us there. The link is in the description.